But now, myself, as a Secretary General, as a person, I don't get offended by anything. I know that leadership responsibility will always come with all sorts of accusations and all sorts of insults, sometimes of unfair judgments or gauge. And I took this responsibility fully aware that such will be part of the responsibilities that were given. There are so many things that are said, like, and we just watch, and of course, I also don't respond to things that are said on social media. There are so many obvious lies that are told about us, but we just leave it because lies will always expose themselves in terms of how we characterize these issues. So I personally I don't get offended by anyone, and I don't hold any grudges against anyone. Like, MK is a very huge movement. It's attracting leaders from different formations. There are people whom we could have had differences with before. But when they come to Mkhonto weSizwe and then they need to be guided, we have to guide all of them objectively and fairly. That is what leadership responsibilities require of us, an obligation. And that is what, we must say this, that is what we learn from President Zuma. Some of us historically said all sorts of things about President Zuma, but he embraces us and even gives us very serious responsibilities with full confidence. So who would we be representing if we are leading Mkhonto weSizwe and then we hold grudges and then want to fight people? Which organization are we leading if our character is to be insulting people and insulting back? Where have you seen President Zuma insult anyone? Where have you seen President Zuma denigrate anyone? Nowhere. But you can go and check. There's so many things that were said about him, including someone who was gossiping somewhere. We don't know whether that is true. Someone was saying that when President Zuma was 17 years old, he was possibly a collaborator. And these are certified collaborators who, even when they were leading the country, you could see by their direction, their association with the imperialist and colonialist West, that they are representing the interest of the establishment. And then they tend that, no, when 70 years ago or 68 years ago, when you were 17 years old, how did you get arrested? The measure of President Zuma must be gauged about what he gets to contribute now, what he contributed. He has never collaborated with the establishment domestically and globally. That is why when he was head of state and president, he got to take South Africa to join an organization which was called BRIC. It became BRICS, associated with the global south and progressive countries in the world. And that is the legacy that we're going to defend and will continue to defend as Mkhonto weSizwe. My boy Africa. Since the adoption of the Constitution, the minimum standards, and the Code of Conduct, there has never been an amendment of the MK Constitution. So in the minimum standards, there is a clause which is standard for all organizations that are self-respecting, that on issues that relate to MK or governance, if you are deployed in the legislature, if you are deployed in National Assembly or National Council of Provinces, if there's an issue that you want to raise before you reach the president, please raise that issue in the internal structures. Raise it in the caucus. If the caucus does not give you a hearing, raise it with the officials in the province where you come from. If it's not handled properly, then approach the other officials at national level. Instead of you taking a bus from Limpopo and you go to Duduzile to want to meet the president about an issue which, if you had raised with the leadership of the province, it could have been resolved. And that is the character of all self-respecting organizations, that let's have Umkhonto weSizwe as an organization that exists and is able to deal with all its issues everywhere it finds itself. So the culture or subculture, sometimes it's done with good intentions, but sometimes it's also done with bad intentions. Where people say, no, we're just visiting the president, we just want to say thank you to the president, we're just going to introduce ourselves. And when they are there, they are talking about internal dynamics and politics of Umkhonto weSizwe. And the leadership that they are talking about or complaining about or raising concerns about is not immediately there. And the president does not close his doors. All of us know, all of you know as members of Umkhonto weSizwe that the president welcomes everyone who comes to him. Like literally everyone. If you go to Nkandla, you go to wherever he will be, he is open to everyone. But we are then saying that as a matter of proper record and proper conduct of the organization, if you want to raise organizational issues or issues that relate to governance, raise it in the relevant structures instead of you going to raise it there. Because one issue which we have to deal with, it's a situation where even when the comrades who go to visit the president have not raised any issue with him, they will ask for a photo with the president. And then when they go back to the ground and they go back to the legislature, they harass people with that photo. That I was with the president here, the president said, Ubaba Ute. That is what we are dealing with much more decisively to protect the character of the organization, which is able to deal with its own issues. There are disciplinary issues that we have taken in relation to Mpumalanga. We've mentioned that, but the DSG is correct that because
we held the national officials meeting last week on Wednesday, the 19th of February 2025. The national officials meeting is constituted by the national officials, which includes the Commander General, who is the president of Umkhonto weSizwe. The national officials deliberated intensively on the same matter, which went viral on media. In their deliberations, the president's wisdom and guidance was that everyone, every member that belongs under Umkhonto weSizwe should abide by the constitution of Umkhonto weSizwe, the code of conduct of Umkhonto weSizwe. Should anyone, any member of Umkhonto weSizwe transgresses, meaning that should any person behaves out of the constitution stipulations, that person should be subjected to the disciplinary processes. It is therefore my submission that we did take into cognizance the guide of the president, and we have since started to follow the stipulations of the Constitution, which guides clearly that that Section 6 of our Constitution, it clearly guides that should a member of Umkhonto weSizwe behaves or misconduct, that person should be subjected to the code of conduct of Umkhonto weSizwe. And the code of conduct clearly outlines the transgressions, and those transgressions are outlined and the implications thereof. That should you do this, the implication should be this. And it also guides that if there is any person that has ill behaved or that has acted out of the constitution of Umkhonto weSizwe, the process to follow is that a report of the incident of misconduct or misbehavior or ill discipline, a comprehensive report which indicates that this person on this day at this time did this, and that report and the misconduct must be clearly outspelled, that this is the misconduct that that particular person has done. And that report must be submitted to the Office of the Secretary General for processing and submission, process to submit to the National Prosecutor of Umkhonto weSizwe. Then the National Prosecutor of Umkhonto weSizwe processes the report as received from the Secretary General's office. So in the instance of Duduzile Zuma Sambudla, I would like to clearly indicate that disciplinary processes, internal disciplinary processes are in progress. That is the response in respect of the question regarding Duduzile.